Hello. Our next yoga wheel practice is all about the hips, and all you'll need is your yoga wheel and possibly a couple of blocks if you're working, and we're going to work through a halasana practice, a plough pose. So if your feet don't tend to touch the floor when you do plough pose, then you may well want a couple of blocks. Okay, let's get going. We're going to start in Baddha Konasana. So bring the soles of your feet together, starting to allow those hips to drop down. By all means, bring yourself onto a block. If it's first thing in the morning, you might find that raising your hips in particular is more helpful, just to check in with how our hips are feeling. So no need to go into the full expression of the pose by any means. We're just using this as our check-in pose, lifting that head, neck and spine, just finding space and length. Just allow each exhale to soften those knees and open out those hips. Good. Now bring your wheel to one side. And you've got an option for your left leg. You can either leave it bent or take it out to the side. So just have a play with that. I know some people feel different and they get better benefit from having it long. So it just depends. It really doesn't matter what happens with your left leg, just as long as it's stable. We're going to bring the top of the right Achilles heel, ankle, back of the ankle, to the wheel. Keeping the right knee bent to start with. Just hold the wheel wherever it is most acceptable for you. Come onto the sit bones. Now, if you find that you're slumping forwards, this is where one block might be quite helpful to you. I'm going to demonstrate this by sitting on a block. I can feel that certainly my left hip is more open here by doing this. And then holding onto that wheel, we're just going to lengthen out the right leg. So exploring how that hip feels by lengthening out the right leg, ensuring that the knee and toes are facing upwards. So by holding onto the wheel, just square your shoulders onto that right leg, lift head, neck and spine, and find a hinge at the hips. So it doesn't matter how far forward we go, because we're really trying to focus on the hips here. Send the right hip back, so you're feeling like a gentle tug behind your right hip. And enjoy this stretch here. So once you find a good place to be, just stay here and enjoy for a couple of breaths. And then rolling the wheel forward, keeping that same leg on the wheel, we're going to drop so that the outside of the ankle comes onto the wheel, and this is a little bit like I teach this as leg baby in class. So you know when we hold our leg in our arms, a bit like our baby, that's my leg baby. So allow the right knee to start to drop. Lift the chest, holding onto that wheel. So your wheel could be at any distance, it might be quite far away from you, that's fine. See if you can open out the hip by just gently, and it's only with your own pressure, I'm not putting a hand on that right hip, pushing that right knee down to open out the right hip. Now as you lift your chest, you might feel the intensity of this stretch increases. No need to fold forward unless you particularly want to. Just holding here. And then release, and we'll slowly come into the other side. So again, taking that option, perhaps you wanted the lower leg straight and you've got a better stretch that way, that's absolutely fine. Placing the right ankle this time on top of the wheel, bending the right knee. We're just going to find where we can hold comfortably onto the wheel. This is just a good way to check in with your balance as well, make sure we're nice and square on the wheel. And then as we send the wheel away, that lengthens that top leg. It doesn't matter if it doesn't completely lengthen, you can have a bend in that left knee, that's absolutely fine. Inhale now, let's lengthen the spine and start to fold forward. Now you can adjust where your hands are on the wheel. They might be on the close bit, they might be closer to the top, or they might be somewhere around the back. Doesn't really matter, wherever you find a good stretch. Let's check in with that left knee and toes. Are they facing up towards the ceiling? Have we got good alignment? Can we deepen the pose and hold? Slowly starting to draw the wheel in towards us as we turn onto the outside of that left ankle, finding our leg-a-baby. So just setting up so that you can use the support of the wheel, gently dropping that left knee to get into the hip of the left leg. So lift your chest and lengthen the spine. And then use your exhale to gently push that left knee down towards the mat. This is a really good one to work on if you are working towards your lotus or your half lotus pose. So it's a nice hip opener to work there, along with your lizard or swan pose, whichever poses you're working on. But this is a really good hip opener to help you with that. Okay, and then release that foot. Let's bring the wheel up to the front of the mat. So I'm going to put that block back for when we need it later. And we're going to go through and we're going to end up in our halasana practice. So taking your back down onto the mat, have your wheel so that you can hold it, so you can feel. You just hold the wheel and place your feet on top of the wheel. So what we're going to do is a little bit of bridge practice. So keep a hold of the wheel, so you've got good firm hold of it. And with your feet on top of the wheel, start to push your hips up. Pushing your hips up, finding perhaps where you can tuck the shoulders and arms underneath the back. Send your knees away. See if you can find a long line from those knees. Lift the hips, lift the hips, lift the hips. And hold here. So keeping your knees together. Opening out the front of the thighs. Stability through your core. Keep that breath nice and steady. And then we're going to reverse that. So very slowly, keeping hold of that wheel, you can inch your shoulders away, bring your spine back down to the mat. Okay, so for our halasana practice, plow practice, we're going to bring the wheel a little bit closer in towards us. So as you bring your knees to your chest, bump your hips up, and then bring the wheel just further in. So we've got now the bottom on the wheel. So that's going to form a little stopper for us. And again, hold on to the wheel so it's not going to slide away. So what we're going to do with our plough is actually use the wheel like a little stopper. So your wheel might be covered in perhaps some rubber, or mine's with cork, but something that's non-slip. Now see if you can hold on to the outside of the wheel. We're going to keep moving the wheel closer as we tuck the knees up and lift the hips. So I'm just gently starting to lift my hips, but I'm using that wheel as a little brace. So at any point I can pause and let my body just rest on the wheel. So now you don't even need to lengthen your legs. We're going to start to take the legs over the head. If you want to lengthen the legs, of course you can. Now, this might be a place where you come to and you hover. I've got my blocks there waiting for me. But we can use the wheel to still bring it in. So it's in between my shoulder blades, to the top of the shoulder blades now. And I'm lifting my hips a little bit higher. So perhaps I can kick away one block. to help my hips come higher. Now my hips coming higher, perhaps I can kick away both blocks. We might be able to send our toes now down to the mat. So if this is where you've been working, you might find this a useful way to help you get into full halasana. It's just as if somebody is gently pushing your mid back. So when you are in your plough pose, start to lengthen out the legs, send the back of the knees up towards the ceiling. And when you're ready to come out, bend the knees, bring the heels in towards your bottom so that you've got that support of the wheel behind you, keeping hold of the wheel. All we're going to do is gently just allow that wheel to very, very, very slowly roll down until we come back, hugging the knees into the chest and rocking the bottom from side to side. Whoops, bring yourself back up to seated when you're ready. Thank you very much. Namaste.